Good morning, Tribe. Wanted to talk with you today about the 4Ds. I know this has been a hot topic of conversation for us as of late. And while I know that we're all on board with where we think this mentality can take us in terms of our ability to further develop our guys, I know there's also likely been equal parts confusion and frustration with regard to nailing down centralized definitions for all of us as to exactly what these 4Ds are and what the vision looks like for us to be able to use them to our advantage. So I wanted to take some time this morning to help answer those questions and shore up that gap. So we're first going to take a look at what the 4Ds are from a more broad perspective. We're going to take a look at how they can be applied to athletics. And as we move through this entire process, I want us to think of ourselves, whether we're service managers, sales managers, what have you, as the coaches, and think of our sales guys or our CFIs as the athletes. So our first D stands for discover. And discover, broadly speaking, can be thought of as the identification of a suboptimal response to a given stimulus. So as an example here, imagine that we have a defensive coordinator who's noticed that every time they call a blitz, his corner cheats in down near the outside linebacker. And because his corner is cheated in near the outside linebacker, every time they run a blitz, they get beat to the outside. So as a coach, I've identified that when this situation, this circumstance presents itself, my athlete responds with a behavior that consistently causes us to fail, right? All right, so we've discovered the problem. Now it's time to move on to our next D, which is develop. And develop, broadly speaking, can be thought of as the application of a training program designed to optimize the response to a given stimulus. So the intent of develop is to put a training program in place that makes it so that when my athlete is exposed to that same situation, that same circumstance, that same stimulus, he no longer responds the same way, and we're no longer stuck as a team having to deal with those same consequences. So in this example, let's say the defensive coordinator runs blitz after blitz after blitz in practice. He's exposing his corner to that same stimulus over and over and over again while making him do burpees every time he gets beat to the outside until the corner stops cheating in when blitz is called. It's like Pavlov's bells, right? We're rewiring the brain's response here. So we discovered the issue. We developed a specific training regimen in order to fix it. Now we need to apply discipline in order to maintain visibility on that training and make sure that we're getting the results out of it that we need to for our athlete. So discipline, broadly speaking, can be thought of as the follow-up evaluation of the behavior which the individual initially struggled with. So back to our sports analogy, we'll say that our defensive coordinator now watches practice film obtained from his secondary coach over the course of the next 3 weeks. Now, during those 3 weeks of watching that practice film, he's making determinations as to whether or not his corner's game ready. All right, so we discovered the issue, we developed the training program, and we maintained visibility on that training program with our discipline. Now it's finally time to see the results of these actions. Can we deploy this person in a greater capacity? And deploy, in a broad sense, can be thought of as the systematic increase in the number of opportunities that are going to be awarded to the individual that is now reliably proficient with the behavior that they previously struggled with. So back to our sports analogy here. Let's say the defensive coordinator is now seeing consistent proof in the practice footage that his corner no longer gets beat to the outside. And as such, he's able to reinstate the corner's first string status in the position. So again, at a very surface level, the 4Ds are first, discover the issue. Next, develop a training program designed to fix the issue. Maintain discipline in order to make sure that you're inspecting what you expect out of that training program, that we're getting the results we need to out of that training. And then finally, because I got great results for my athlete, how does this affect what I'm able to deploy that person to go do? What opportunities does this earn them? So now that we understand these concepts from a larger and more broad perspective, we're going to take a closer look at how these same concepts apply directly to what we do. So a tighter definition for us on Discover is going to simply be identifying a break in the sales process within an individual CFI. So as an example of this, let's say there's a struggling CFI that says that they dislike the warm-up. They think that it's misplaced in the process. And according to him, homeowners don't want to hear it. Their eyes glaze over when he starts to go in it, and he believes if he could just skip it and get right into the inspection like he's used to, he'd be selling like hotcakes. Right. So in this case, what the SM is going to do is he's going to review the past 10 Rilla ride-alongs, and he's going to specifically be looking for this interaction where we begin the warm-up in the agenda. And during the course of doing this, what the SM actually learns is happening is that the CFI, when he knocks on the door, as soon as the homeowner answers the door, he hands him the business card and asks him how they heard about us. And what's happening because of this is the CFI is then forced to deliver 5 to 8 minutes of dialogue with the homeowner while they're standing at the threshold. And because they're both standing, it does feel like it takes too long for this conversation to develop. The homeowner does get frustrated, and to the CFI's point, it is leading to a break in rapport at the very start of the interaction. So we suspected an issue. We did some additional research in order to discover exactly what the problem is. All right? So now it's time to develop a specific training regimen. And for us, that definition of develop is going to be the creation and implementation of a training regimen designed to fix the break in the sales process, that specific thing that we identified earlier. So in this case, the SM is going to have the CFI role play this 5 times, beginning with the CFI knocking on the SM's office door, SM opening the door, shaking his hand, and pointing him towards the fictitious crawl space entrance. CFI is then to remind the SM that earlier he had said there was a place inside where we could sit down for a few minutes before jumping right into the inspection. SM remembers, invites the CFI in to come sit. As the CFI is sitting down and getting his papers prepared and organized, he's going to hand his business card to the SM and deliver the "So I'm curious, how did you hear about us" line. The SM and the CFI are then going to role play all the way through the first 5 questions of the table consult. The CFI is then given instructions to pay additional attention to this portion of the process with the expectation that over the course of the next week, for every appointment he runs, his SM will be reviewing that ride-along in Rilla in order to look for progress regarding the warm-up and ensuring that it's been delivered at a table and not at a threshold. An important note for us here is that the CFI should also be aware that progress being made on the portion of the process that we're focusing on here is critical to him being able to see more opportunities as a CFI. Date and time is marked on calendar for follow-up meeting between the CFI and the SM 1 week out to review progress. SM sends an email to a CFI, CCing his leadership team, reviewing the meeting and the expectations set moving forward. So far, we've done our discovery. We identified exactly what the issue is. We put a training regimen in place that's going to help us fix the issue. And we've also documented this entire interaction thus far. Moving on to discipline. So for us, our definition of discipline is going to be the follow-up protocol with predetermined dates during which we inspect the CFI's process to assess whether or not the required progress is being made. So, SM listens to the arrive step in Rilla for every appointment the CFI runs over the course of the next week. SM takes additional notes on both the improvements made as well as the opportunities for additional improvement moving forward that have been identified. SM is also going to set up an FTX at the midway point between the initial meeting and the follow-up meeting where the ASM will play the role of the homeowner and the SM will be freed up to observe and take notes on the entire appointment. During this, the SM may identify additional breakpoints that need to be worked on after the current issue is fixed. So, discovered the issue, developed a game plan, we executed the game plan and maintained visibility on it, and now it's time to get to deploy. So, for us, the definition for deploy is going to be the increase in lead flow awarded to the CFI as a result of fixing their previous break in the execution of the sales process. So back to our example here, the SM is then going to sit back down with the CFI on their scheduled date for the follow-up conversation. The detailed notes from both the Rilla and the FTX observations are going to be reviewed, and based on the progress that the CFI has made, the changes are implemented in the SMART scheduler. One thing to note here is that based on the additional observations and discovery made over the course of the past week, additional develop and discipline steps may need to apply. Essentially, this process repeats itself until the CFI is either performing well or providing a proven and well-documented track record as to the fact that they can't. SM is then going to reply all to his original email to the CFI regarding this topic with the update and the results of the actions taken thus far. This creates a detailed and timestamped paper trail. All right, so that chronology again, first discovering the issue, then developing a game plan that's going to help us improve on that specific challenge, maintaining discipline as we execute that game plan in order to make sure that it's working effectively, and then ultimately, because we did a great job of fixing this issue for our CFI, determining and implementing the increase in the number of opportunities that we're able to deploy them to go see as a result. Guys, I appreciate the time and I hope that this has added some clarity into what we're trying to accomplish here, and I look forward to talking with you soon.